but we're getting there, and we can booby trap them. I think there's a thing that runs in us, which is the critic of our thoughts. There's a little voice in there saying, that's absurd. And the little voice in me said, that's absurd. And I turned to the little voice and I said, shut up. I'm just gonna see where this leads, because I don't have anything else. A raven won't be able to tell the difference. I'm trying to keep tortoises from going extinct because they're being eaten by ravens. I almost feel like a SWAT team guy. It's like we just come in with the toolkit and start trying stuff. Lasers, terrestrial rovers, drones, 3D printed fake tortoises, and I'm having a hell of a good time.
These have a spacer built in on both sides.
Gotcha,
so
to hold it at a distance.
Exactly.
You thought this through?
For once.
Circle back the other way. Conservation biology can be really depressing. You're the scientist, the objective observer. You don't get involved, you're just taking notes on the catastrophe. And I came to a breaking moment for me. It's just like, what the hell is all this knowledge good for if I don't do something? There he is. Oh, you're a little fart. Look at that little guy. So gorgeous. I can't remember a time when I wasn't in love with reptiles. Little dragons. Look at it on the sand. It's just incredible. His shell is beautiful. That's a 275 million year old pattern. Looking back on my entire youth, time in the classroom is sort of black and white. It's kind of a Wizard of Oz thing. But in the field, everything came alive. Mojave Desert, hot, dry, and nasty. And yet, in certain places, the wonder of tadpoles. I'm kind of in the middle of this wildlife documentary that's unfolding in real time. There's a bobcat staring at me. Hey, kitty. Right as I got my master's, a project was announced by the local BLM office in Riverside that this woman, Dr. Christine Berry, was starting a desert tortoise population monitoring project.
I was the one that set up the studies and laid out these plots so that they could be revisited over time. Tim Shields, he would make himself a long gown, but he had no shorts on underneath. He was one of the field people, and he was one of the best. And he's above even the best in finding babies.
They genuinely have a joie de vivre. They live life passionately. They're thought of as gentle, slow-moving, kind of dumb creatures. They're not dumb. They can't be dumb and make it where they make it.
The desert tortoise has been in trouble since the 1930s.
So we'll do north-south. That'll establish the two corners, and then it's just up and down, like that.
We have loss of habitat, the deaths of animals from roads and vehicles, disease, and then, of course, there's climate change.
Every time we came back, every 4 years, it was a 50% decline in numbers. Bottomed out at 35 tortoises, something like that. 40 tortoises, it was terrible. Oh, buddy, it's not so good. It was really hard as a human being who also loved these creatures to go out and spend months just picking up dead tortoises. 95. I could no longer be passive about this and simply watch the end of the show. I focused on the raven as an idea simply because it seemed like a manageable threat. As human population has risen in the desert, there's a fairly simple mathematical relationship. More humans equals more ravens equals fewer tortoises. There aren't that many tortoises left. They're like caviar for ravens. It's another day in Raventown. There's a group of about 5 ravens right here. So there's one right there. Yeah. Oh, there's a whole shitload in there. And here comes another one in here. These ravens will know which restaurants are sloppy about closing the dumpster, which dumpsters are more likely to be opened up by the wind. All of these sorts of patterns. So you're dealing with a genius animal that is also an omnivore. I'm starting to see them come in this alley right in front of us. The lowest count I've ever had, I think, is 1,500. So what we've done is we've imported ravens right through excellent tortoise habitat. Yeah, here's a good one. This is very typical, which is punching through the plastron, which is the underside of the shell, to remove the internal organs and maybe eat the meat or not. It takes them 5 to 10 years minimum to get to the point where they can resist the attack of a raven. But during that time, the odds of them avoiding detection by a raven are functionally 0. All right, Frank. It's not ready for prime time, but it certainly is ready for testing. The antithesis of the depressed conservation biologist is the engineer, because now they have all these new tools and they're going, we can do anything. Savvy technologists are expensive, frankly. And I meet this crazy kid, Frank Guercio, a high school kid who turns out to be kind of a genius.
You know, you grow up, you watch James Bond, and you watch all these tech guys build tools for spies, and now I'm Q. This is our prototype laser. We call this the Blastolux. For whatever reason, ravens hate green. Someone may as well have started a bar fight amongst them. Many times they disperse and don't come back.
Ravens are arguably the most intelligent birds on the planet, and arguably more intelligent than we are in certain respects. They operate on a lot of the same circuits that we do in terms of our opportunism, our ability to innovate. We just have to change the cost-benefit ratio inside the bird's head so that it chooses somewhere different, away from tortoise habitat. We can do it without killing the birds. The way I think about it is a bird educated by Hardshell Labs is more valuable than a dead bird because they are very social creatures and because they watch each other. There, you got them. There they went. It's so clear when you hit them. And then there's the social effect of like, oh, everybody's panicking, I better panic too. It's so wonderful. The laser worked really well. That fired me up. I parked here and I just had this feeling going in. There's a raven nest in here.
Welcome to the Millennial Starter Home, boys.
Yes. It's a bit of a fixer-upper. There it is. Awesome. Raven nest. This is that borescope we were talking about. Raise it somewhat. There. And there's the nest cup right there. Remote egg oiling is a way of changing their numbers. Their babies don't hatch. They don't have as many babies. Already we have evidence that they're abandoning those areas. This will be so thrilling if there are a good number of eggs in there. I've been wanting this nest for a long time.
Yep, 4 eggs.
Okay. Ah, the din of the 21st century. What a setting to oil eggs. Can we alter their numbers? Can we alter their distribution? Or can we alter their behavior? and they'll probably all come into play. The driving force behind this project is aversive training. The raven comes in, flips it over. For whatever reason, artificial grape flavoring drives birds crazy, including ravens.
On the inside, we have a bladder, which acts like a pepper spray. That means it's going to arm. That one's primed and ready to go. So if you turned it on right now and waited to 3, it would explode all over us.
If a certain number of ravens have the bad experience with the technotort, we should see a reduction in the frequency of attacks. 3. Don't touch it, because it'll go off. The idea is just to make the haunted landscape where there's just no relief from the surprises, and all the surprises are bad. They're such funny animals.
The look
I know.
straight back
at the camera is great. It's like, do you get this? I don't get this. This was the guy who just was like, would not give it up. You know, maybe they're a mated pair and she's just going, Charlie, you're a fool. It ain't worth it. I'm going off to the McDonald's dumpster.
We're sitting in a space that 3 months from now is going to have 100 printers, filament production lines, resin printers, CNC machines, laser cutters, anything and everything that can be used to solve the problem.
Do these things work? Can we do this? We already think we're having a positive effect. The attack rate is significantly lower, that you can pick it up in the data. Very cautious optimism is how I feel. After a lifetime of observing this thing that was falling apart, the work we're doing has injected an element of hope. The promised land, my baby tortoises, may you grow and prosper.
My heart is beating fast for this little tortoise. I love finding little turtles.
All of these tortoises have huge growth rings this year. It's been a very productive year. I like humans well enough, but we have flaws. and I don't learn as much from other human beings as I do from tortoises. They're just my best teachers. The desert tortoise is one example of species that are suffering from the way humans are doing business in the world. But this is a global phenomenon. We have thrown the world ecosystem so far out of whack that if we don't put our hands on those ecological levers, letting nature take its course is going to be really bad for us as well. Look at that face. He's slightly awake, but very sleepy. If we don't want a really lonely planet that's just us and ravens and rats and cockroaches, we have a whole ton of work to do. Oh, it's gonna be great. It's just spectacular. Hi, cows. All these birds eating the grain. I have this little human life. I'm just one of these human sparks. We're all just like, we're gone like that. This seems like a reasonable way to spend my golden years. 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! People started building cathedrals knowing this thing isn't going to be done for 200 years. I'm laying bricks here. I'm never going to see the finished product. I'm going to be recycled into creosote bush by the time any of this pays off. So I kind of feel like one of those cathedral builders. It's just like, lay some bricks. But it's all right being a bricklayer.